patient attacked me.
Hello?
Workers' comp may help you.
Yes, I'm calling to report an incident.
May I ask who's speaking and what's the nature of your incident?
I had a patient they attacked me. My name is Nurse Jumping Jackson.
I'm sorry for the patient. What could you have done differently to prevent that from happening?
Are you kidding me? You're asking me what could I have done differently for the patient to attack me?
Yes, you provoked the patient. What could you have done differently?
Hey, thank you for coming to my channel. My name is Jumping Jackson and I produce content of what I go through on a daily basis as a registered nurse. The reason why I created this content about abuse is because this is a huge problem in nursing where we are constantly blamed. You know, it's like, how do we provoke a patient, really? You know, we caring for them. It's like, it doesn't make sense. You know, I called the HR and this will happen. So here's why HR sometimes accuse a nurse of provoking a patient even after being attacked. First of all, liability protection. Hospitals are a business. You know, if they acknowledge that a nurse was attacked without cause, they may open themselves up to a legal risk or scrutiny over workplace safety failures. You know, so they do that, you know, they shift the blame onto the nurse so they can protect their own institution. The second thing they do is called patient satisfaction culture. In some systems, the patient is treated like a customer. So, you know, you go out to a restaurant, the customer is always right. So the patient is always right. So even when patients are aggressive or violent, staff are pressured to remain silent to preserve satisfaction scores or avoid complaints. The third thing, lack of trauma-informed policies. Many HR teams are not trained in how to properly respond to workplace violence in healthcare, which is kind of crazy, you know. They may default to bureaucratic responses focusing on what could you have done differently, really? Instead of acknowledging trauma or talking about accountability or taking accountability. They should take accountability. You know, and then also something to add on is something called systemic gaslighting. Unfortunately, blaming nurses is part of a toxic culture where speaking up about violence is often minimized, you know. This discourages future reports and keeps the cycle going on. And then one more thing you can add on is documentation gaps is another reason why HR, they do what they do. If the incident wasn't witnessed or documented in a specific way, HR may question the nurse account, especially if the patient denies the behavior. This leads to unjust scrutiny of the nurse instead of focusing on the real issue: violence in the workplace. Bottom line, this isn't okay. Nurses deserve to feel safe, heard, and supported, not interrogated or blamed. If this happened to you or someone you know, your voice matters. You're not alone, and this culture, it really needs to change. So to every nurse showing up for their shift despite fear, fatigue, or emotional weight of the job, I see you. I stand with you. The recent attack on a nurse in Florida is a tragic reminder of what many of us quietly endure: being assaulted, verbally abused, or threatened while simply trying to care for others. It happens all the time. We are not just caregivers, we are humans, and no one deserves to be harmed for doing their job. That's what we do. As a nurse, we care for people, and the fact that we have to be mindful of our safety, because at any given moment, a demented patient can just take off and just knock you out. What's even more heartbreaking is like when the response from leadership and HR is silence. Nurses are told to be professional. We are professional. When things happen to us, then they just want us to be professional, let it go, document it, and that's supposed to heal the bruises, they're supposed to fix the trauma or rebuild the trust that we just lost for our job. but it really doesn't. It doesn't do any of that. We need more policy. We need more protection. We need to be heard, and we need more action. Because if nurses are constantly expected to be the backbone of healthcare, then healthcare systems need to have our backs. That's the reason why I made that skit, because that should not be happening to no nurse. No nurse should experience what that floor nurse went through. It constantly goes in my mind, like, who was there? Like, did somebody come to try to prevent that from happening? Like, literally, the girl looks like, nobody came for her rescue at all because her face was just so beat up. These are the moments in nursing that just is frustrating. But it doesn't take me away from the fact that I don't love what I do. I just hate that we don't have a supportive healthcare system. Some questions, comment below, like, subscribe, share. Let's talk about what are some things that we can do that kind of help this system change.